Welcome back. We've now got all the medallions, so it's time for the moment of truth. Just who is Sheik? Does Link have the capacity to defeat Ganondorf? Where is Zelda? All this has sadly been public knowledge for over a decade now, so the surprise is kind of ruined. Lead on, Mexi.
But the most important question is, who is Saria gonna ask to the prom? Seriously, you made it sound like this is some sort of high school drama.
Don't tempt them. They'll make it.
Like Metroid High?
Don't even fucking start with me, okay?
Alright. This is the Light Arrow cutscene. A very, very important cutscene, both story-wise, but also mechanically, in the fact that it gives you the essential weapon to beat Ganondorf, and you cannot get this item without viewing this cutscene.
So I'm guessing this cutscene is basically like hell for you speedrunners.
It was. For the longest time, this was the ultimate funnel. It was sort of like doctrine that you can play Ocarina of Time however you want, but at the end of the day, you will have to watch the Light Arrow cutscene. I mean, I remember for about a year, that was the holy grail of Ocarina of Time. Was like, could you imagine if we found Light Arrow cutscene skips? Like, psh, yeah, whatever, no one cares. And then Wrong Warp came along and it's like, hey, Light Arrow cutscene skip. It's also, what, the 4th? 5th? I lost count. How many times have they told us how Triforces are made?
Yeah, they use like the exact same cutscene graphics and whatnot as well.
They don't even change it. They don't even add new information. Well, this one might, but the information is that, oh hey, Ganondorf touched it, so that's why this place is shit.
I love this. We are Sheik
Henshin!
I would have also accepted Henshin a go-go baby, or Plot Twist a go-go baby.
They actually gave him added animations to that. In the original, he just put his hands together, but that one was like, shoo, 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 swishy, swah.
And surprise, surprise, not only is Link the holder of the Triforce of Courage, but Sheik was actually Zelda all along.
Oh my god. Well, that totally explains his butt.
What?
Well, he had like the best butt of all the character models, and now it all makes sense.
Actually, you're right, it was the firmest of butts in all of Hyrule.
That's why she had to keep it hidden.
Yeah, I didn't tell you to watch out for Ganondorf or anything. I mean, the guy could have come up behind you and shanked you, but still.
Interesting thing about this cutscene is that even though it is a cutscene and it's a flashback at that, the game actually considers this as you being turned into Child Link and then being turned back into Adult Link.
How unnecessarily arbitrary.
It is. It's super weird, but it does help with a lot of glitches, especially ones that require a certain item on your C buttons and needing you to change time. This is the fastest way to go from child to adult.
Probably not the smartest of ideas to have a little chit-chat inside the Temple of Time when Ganondorf's looking for you, but I'm sure there's not going to be any negative complications due to this.
No, of course. It's not like the Zelda franchise has a long, lengthy history of female protagonists being captured the second they appear on screen. That can't possibly happen. I mean, this is Ocarina of Time, the greatest game ever. Groundbreaking in story mechanics and in all things video game related.
Man, a little bit of salt there, Mexi. I taste it.
I do like how, for all Zelda games before this particular item was pretty much called the Silver Arrows. They're the same thing. They're the magical arrows that will hurt Ganondorf because apparently the Sword of Evil's Bane just isn't enough to kill evil. Oh shit!
Again with the crystals. Ganon, get some original material.
I don't get why he does this. And then later on, Onyx in Oracle Seasons does the same shit. It's like, I'm going to kidnap this woman, put her in my secluded hideout where no one can hear her scream, and put her in a giant crystal.
You know, for a second there, before you clarified it, I thought you meant the Pokemon. If we're gonna have actual, like, different characters in Hyrule Warriors, let Onyx be playable. That'd be sweet.
Dude, they need to bring back more of the Oracle games. They're too segmented from the rest of the series. Whoa, that straight jump cut. But honestly, all you need to know is that this is what happened to Hyrule Castle. Ganondorf kind of tore it down, dug a big ol' hole, filled it with lava, and did some interior decorating.
You maniac! You blew it up! Gosh darn you! Gosh darn you to Lorule and back!
Lorule is the greatest pun in existence.
I've yet to play that, but like we established a part or two ago, I will. Oh, I will.
Unfortunately, the suspense of this huge reveal that Ganon went completely baroque on the Hyrule Castle was ruined to me because when I turn Adult Link, the game says, "Oh no, Zelda's missing, this is really bad, and you should find her." So I figured, well, she's probably at Hyrule Castle, so I walked straight from the Temple of Time to Hyrule Castle and saw this huge monolith floating on a lake of lava, and it kind of ruined the fact that you're supposed to wait until the end of the game to see this.
Right, not only does it kill the suspense and any tension, like, the build-up to this might have had, but you can't even do anything here until the end of the game, especially if you don't have the golden gauntlets.
The only thing you can actually do is get a gold Skulltula if you really want one.
Yeah.
But you have to wait until you get all the sages in order for Rainbow Road to appear and you can actually enter the castle.
Now, Ganon's castle slash tower slash final dungeon of the Zelda game, mate, what's your opinion on it?
I don't like it. It's very simple. In previous Zelda games, the final dungeon was the climax of the game. It was the pinnacle of difficulty, and you were lucky if you got through it, even with full fairies, full hearts, and max armor. In this game, they went a different direction, and instead of the ultimate gauntlet test of your skills, it's more just, how's about a dungeon medley? You know, for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah, it's like elemental fun times.
I guess, it just reeks of Power Rangers.
At least they kept it, again, thematic with the medallion dungeons that you've encountered thus far. Like here you got the Shadow Room, we'll call it, where you use the hover boots, the Lens of Truth and such.
For most of them, yeah, they do that, where it's sort of, do you remember this dungeon? Well, that will help you very much in doing the trial. But then you get to some of these trials, and it's more like they just looked back on what they had for beta, and it's like, you know what, we didn't get a chance to put that in the actual game, so let's use it for the trial.
Well, at least we'll get to reuse commentary for those sections as well, mate.
It's really difficult to navigate these really narrow platforms because you've probably kept on your hover boots for the entire room. I mean, the trial pretty much sets you up for it, but if you want to keep some traction and not fall to your death, just take them off, especially with the quick select. I mean, it's so easy to just slip boots on and off.
Much like I'd love, in fact.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I was just waiting for that. Anyway, golden gauntlets, mate. You don't like them because they is tacky, I believe.
They is tacky! Link spent this entire quest not to gather medallions, no, not to save Hyrule. The point of this quest was to create a bitchin' outfit, and he had it. He had silver and red with the mirror shield, Goron tunic, and the silver gauntlets. Then the gold gauntlets decided to come and ruin that entire thing.
Just ain't right. Just ain't right. Also, why are we shooting giant kernels of popcorn? Not important, I guess.
This is what I was talking about in that some of the trials pull straight from the dungeons that they're based off of, whereas other ones, it just sort of seems like they wanted to really make sure that their beta ideas didn't go to waste. Since this is the water trial, it actually looks a lot more like the ice cavern, and that is because the water temple was meant to be ice-based.
As with the ice cavern, the main mechanic here is just basically bottle management, so hopefully you come in with 2 or more bottles or you're in for a lot of backtracking.
I feel so bad for the random nerd that came in here thinking, oh, you only need 1 bottle, and then they get to this trial and they're pulling their hair out.
I guess you could call that a real reverse bottle adventure.
I see what you did there and I approve.
let's just take solace in the fact that this could easily have been just another change the water levels type puzzle, and we'd be here for like hours trying to figure out the correct order, but instead, you got a bit of bottle management, you got a simple block puzzle that's actually easier than the one in the original ice cavern, so it's all good really.
Once again, it just really goes back to my huge beef with the Ganon's Tower in Ocarina of Time, is that I'd be okay if it was a dungeon medley, but only if they used the same stuff, but ramped it up. Like, oh man, here is a Lens of Truth puzzle, but way harder than anything you've ever seen. With this, we've done this before. We did something like this that was twice as hard. Why is this in the final dungeon of the game? It kills all the tension.
You're expecting like Master Quest levels of difficulty then, I'm guessing.
No. I want to set this straight. I want difficulty, not dick moves. And Master Quest Ganon's Tower is the epitome of dick moves. One thing about Ganon's Tower is that there's not that many keys, which really helpful since you're pretty much tired of having to save keys going through the last 5 dungeons. There's not really all that many. In Master Quest, however, not only are there small keys, but you actually have to carry over certain small keys from one trial to a completely other trial.
Yep.
Why? It is good that you actually have to use a lot of your inventory. I mean, how disappointing would it be for you to have pretty much a full inventory of all these weapons and items, and you only needed to use like 1 or 2. So I will give Ocarina of Time Ganon Tower some credit. You do have a lot of item variation. Good for you. Bonus points.
I think Din's Fire was my most used magic in this game. Least used would be possibly Nehru's Love.
Wouldn't it be cool if at the end of Ocarina of Time they kind of had like a DN screen at Kingdom Hearts and shows you most used item, most used spells, how many fairies you've used? I think that would be really helpful.
Ragnarok? What's that?
Oh god, Link with Ragnarok. That's some like brawl shit right there. The Forest Trial is another beta trial brought to life in that even though this is the Forest Temples trial, we're dealing with wind-based puzzles. No stained glass or vines or honestly Poe-based puzzles. The Master Quest version actually does this puzzle really well in that not only do you need to use the hover boots, you also have to use the iron boots, so it's kind of like you have to manipulate 3 levels of weights. With this one, you're just using the hover boots to cover greater distances from one platform to the other.
Also the Song of Time, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, ugh, god, I must have blocked that out of my memory.
Yep, that's what we're talking about. Master Quest, not actual difficulty, just dick moves. Be free, popcorn.
Now to get the butter of time. It's not really that big of a deal, but I do like that each sage, even though they're all saying the same thing, that please hurry, Link, they actually say it in really different ways depending on their relationship to you. So, judging by that, Nabooru should pretty much be silent.
Right. Oh no, they do the do.
Yeah, it turns out that Ganon's Tower is actually completely powered by soft drinks.
Brilliant.
That's actually his biggest evil task, is to completely eliminate all the carbonated beverages from all of Hyrule, so everyone's left with just juice and water.
Man, they really got a lot of mileage out of this collect the silver rupees thing, didn't they?
They did, and I kinda get why. It's a very cheap and easy way to make someone have to go completely around a room. Because, I mean, for the most part, if you want to solve a puzzle, you can just go from point A, point B, next room, done. But with silver rupees, you have to go A, B, C, D, all the way to Z, and then maybe you can leave the room. But, honestly, it's okay if you put it in a trial for a temple that had silver rupee puzzles. You don't have to put in every single one. It just comes off as really cheap. This room's actually very important to speedruns in that once wrong warps were discovered, this room is the first place you go to after you wrong warp to, you know, be an adult Link, in that you can get bomb chews here. Other than that, and there's not all that important in a casual playthrough. I'm also glad that in this version there are no wall masters. There are too many of those in Master Quest.
In this room in particular, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, this room in Master Quest is really weird. It takes the dickishness to the next level in that for the entire game when you come across these sun switches, you're conditioned to, take your time, think it through, and only light up the switch that needs it, because you're usually punished with more enemies if you light up the wrong sun switch. In Master Quest, you want to light up all the sun switches, and there's really no indication because when you light up all the other sun switches, you get the bah, bah. So it's like, oh no, I did something wrong. It's like, no, you're actually doing the right steps. The game is just for some weird reason punishing you.
Yeah, that's where I always get tripped up, because if you don't get them all, you won't get the small key, and obviously you'll be stuck.
It might have been the only time I was tempted to maybe look at a strategy guide. I did it because I have a will of steel and am not a baby gamer.
This is what I think of your puny FAQs. Hurrah!
Link demonstrating proper lifting techniques. Remember kids, when using supernatural magic gloves, lift with your legs, not your back. You don't want to have a sprained back when you have to conquer evil. It's kind of weird that they have a trial of light, considering that... Where was our light temple?
In the center of the sacred realm?
Well, yeah, I guess if you want to have the less fan theory answer and ruin my fun. But seriously, it would have been really cool, but once again, more cut content, luckily not to the extent that Wind Waker got. Oh god, that's honestly very depressing to think about. One last use of Zelda's Lullaby, because we haven't gotten enough mileage out of that song, have we?
I expect a dubstep version of this by the next week.
Or within the next part. You better hurry, you only got like an hour. That chest is hands down the most difficult enemy in all of Ganon's tower. It took all of Link's ability just to get to it.
It's kind of awkward trying to do like minute movements sometimes, but it was nowhere near as insidious as it was in Skyward Sword with the Wii's analog stick. I never liked that thing. I always felt it was too flowy for its own good.
Original N64 also had a really shitty analog switch, especially for this game. That's why anytime I ever play the N64 version, I use a GameCube controller. It has the right amount of buttons, but without the shitty controls.
Okay, I'm just going to walk through the wall here.
Yeah, because instead of having actual difficulty, let's just throw in a gag. It's a gimmick.
Yeah, let's trick the player.
Because, they've played through the whole game, we can do whatever we want with them. They have their hook in you.
It seems like something more suited to the Shadow trial. I think that's why I don't like it. I would have just preferred some more difficult puzzles, really.
Yeah, honestly with the Shadow trial, I would be more okay with it because you have to equip your Lens of Truth anyway, so you should have it nearby, and maybe just looking at it in your inventory should sort of like spark your memory. But in the Light trial, nothing needs the Lens of Truth. Nothing indicates it, and it sort of leads to a mental dead end of what should I do here? This trial is probably the most difficult in this version and definitely in Master Quest. Because in order to get through these platforms, you have to have the hover boots on. Otherwise, the platform sinks. But in doing so, you eliminate all traction Link has, and you have to make precise movements with zero friction. Do you see how that just doesn't work well together?
And you should really be doing these trials in a certain order, and I would definitely recommend starting as we've done here with the Shadow trial, so you'll be able to get the golden gauntlets.
The dungeon may sort of give the solution that, oh hey, it's non-linear, you can do any trial you want in any order, but that's not true. Much like other claims of non-linearity in Zelda games, it's just a facade. You really need to do the Shadow trial before you do both Fire and Light. And I guess that's sort of cool when you consider you must conquer the Shadow in order to venture into the Light, or some other Kingdom Hearts bullcrap quote.
Alright, Nomura, calm it down. God, that lava's actually hurting my eyes.
Yeah, but you know what? I'ma forgive it. gaudy lava in exchange for really good texture on shiny items? It seems like a fair trade to me. I like how they gave Darunia back his pupils, because if you remember, when he became a sage, his eyes were pure blue, like someone just took some sapphires and just jammed them in his eye sockets. But now that we're in the tower, he's got his pupils back, which is nice.
They gave him contacts for his close-up, how considerate.
You see, being a sage actually comes with greater health insurance, therefore he could get his eyes checked.
No, my soda! My ultimate do!
That cutscene, I don't know why. In this game, they put so much effort into making everything bigger and flashier and more fun to watch with the 3D on, but that cutscene right there when the barrier is dispelled is actually less impressive. In the original, the screen kind of shakes and goes through these weird color changes and waves in and out, but in this version it just turned white and then the barrier was gone. What up, Nintendo?
Yeah, nice use of impressive hardware, guys.
Well, are you telling me that Nintendo, in one rare instance, hasn't used their hardware to their full capability? I'm insulted, Tom.
Well, to be fair, this is Grezzo, so let's apply blame where blame is applicable. And, you may be wondering why we're Sonic the Hedgehog-ing our way out of Ganon's tower when Zelda's still, kidnapped. But we have to get our last fairy upgrade, and this one is a doozy, and I would not recommend missing it.
It's literally so important, you need a cutscene in order to enter her fountain. It's also a pretty badass cutscene, just so you can see how far he chucks it, because the first pillar kinda got obliterated by the barrier. And this will be the last we see of these honestly greatly improved fountains. If you were to put a side-by-side on which areas got the biggest improvements, most people would talk about Water Temple, that's just because they're babies. I would say the fountains. These actually look hella impressive. And of course, even in the dark, futuristic world of Ganon-oppressed Hyrule, fairies still don't know how to dress decently.
Well, to be fair, Ganon, blocked her front door. She hasn't been able to go shopping or anything.
Yeah, but the fountain should have been here before he blocked it. So why didn't the fairy, kind of stop him? Or, I don't know, weaken him? Do something. You're a magical being of untold power. Why are you waiting for the random kid to do your job?
Well, it's like each fairy only has one specific power, so what's she gonna do to Ganon? Give him double hit points?
Or she could half his damage. I don't know.
Either way, that would be beneficial to Ganon, and that's not what we need right now.
Could you imagine that? It's like one of your magic spells actually helped Ganon, and the game didn't tell you, it was just a random dick move, just cuz. Who recorded this again? What was it? Mega Man NG?
That's the one.
Dude, you are my soulmate. I am loving your optimal movement through this whole part.
Well, I did tell him to go as fast as possible, and he did become quite accomplished at planning routes throughout this whole recording process.
I love route planning. You, me, we're gonna hang out after this playthrough and we're gonna be the best of internet friends.
Alright, time to enter the demonic demon mouth. It's not quite Jabba Jabba's belly, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've kind of entered a lot of mouths in this game. We entered a tree mouth, then we entered a skull mouth, fish mouth, but then after that it was sort of just doorways. But honestly, you could rename this game Legend of Zelda Eat My Mouth. This center tower, I will admit, feels a bit more like a true final Zelda gauntlet in that you're fighting a lot of enemies, more difficult enemies, and instead of getting a breather in between, you're just met with another room with more enemies to beat up.
Good old-fashioned gauntlet, and this is where the double health comes in really handy, because of it. If you don't have fairies, enemies like the Stalfos and the Iron Knuckles coming up will rip you apart.
I would say that the Big Goron Sword is more helpful than the double damage. Seriously, you're just cutting through everything.
I killed that guy so bad he clipped through the environment.
You say that going out of bounds in Ocarina of Time is difficult or something.
That's true. Now, how do you feel about getting a boss key, at this stage in the game. It just seems like going up the tower itself is more of a challenge than simply getting key and then putting key into lock and meeting the boss that way.
Yeah, to me it just feels like they were sort of maintaining a standard. It was like, well, we had it for all the other dungeons, might as well do it for this. But honestly, just dispelling the barrier, that felt climactic enough. I don't need to see the giant locking key and be like, oh my god, I'm approaching the end. No, the barrier did just enough. And honestly, when you show me where the end is, it kind of ruins the point of a gauntlet. The gauntlet should be like, is this the end? No, oh no, I'm screwed. It should keep that tension.
It was a nice bit of fake art though, getting the key and then going into like the room with the, I would say, most powerful enemies in the game.
I also like how you don't necessarily use the key on the last door of the dungeon like you've done for everything else. Instead, you're using it on what is technically the chamber that has Ganon within it.
Notice the improved lighting on the walls there, just like in the Spirit Temple. Oh, and the stained glass windows look really good as well. But we're out of time here, folks, so please join us next time for the finale of Ocarina of Time 3D. See you then.